Well, welcome back to another session. Today I am going to continue from the conversation that I started 2 sessions ago, where I began to address the whole issue about self-image and physical image. And what I'd like to start with in today's session is perhaps summarize what we discussed in the prior session and then build on that. Now, in the prior session, I provided what I thought was perhaps a useful formula to guide both men and women in relation to their weights and therefore their physical image, especially about how to control or how to work towards a goal. In simple terms, I said for women, your height in feet, if you take the numbers and you add a kilograms to that numerical height, that should tell you what you should weigh as a woman. Now, there are some variations to that formula to account for people who are taller, and similarly for people who are shorter. But the simple version is you take your height, that is your weight. So for someone who is 5'5", 5 foot 5 inches, you should weigh 55 kilograms. Very simple. A man of the same height should weigh 20 kilograms more than the woman. For those who are 6 foot and above, we start to introduce some variations. For those who are 5'5" and above, up to 6, there are some variations. For those who are 5'5" and below, there are some variations. And I covered that in the prior session. I think that serves as a benchmark that most people can use. Now, in today's session, I'd like to talk about the concept of image and why image matters. Now, many people over the last 15 years have come up with this self-righteous, egotistical, what I call gospel preaching type indoctrination using affirmations that make them feel good. Unfortunately, women seem to be the ones who generally express such views much more than men. A man who is poor, who has no job, cannot keep saying the law of attraction works, because he understands that he has to go out and work. And the most important part of the law of attraction is that faith without works is dead. So we go out and we make things happen. Women, on the other hand, have for some reason caught hold of the whole message of body empowerment and self-empowerment. Things that we've known all of our lives to be deviations from the norm are now being celebrated as the norm. The sad part of all of this, and partly why I started this conversation, is that most men are refusing to participate or to partake in that delusion. There's a saying, you can't help someone who is in a prison except they recognize that they are in one. We men on the outside, we see differently. When you come up to us as a plus size, large woman, overweight, especially when you're very young, we do not see fit, we do not see fitness. We see you for who you are. We see you as you are. We're not deluded. We do not participate in that fairy tale and gimmickry and self-delusion that most people practice. And so what I hope to do in today's session is give you some cues, ways through which you can know whether potentially you are overweight. Now, this already should not be necessary, as I have already in the prior session provided you with a way of estimating your weight relative to what should be your ideal weight, which will tell you whether you are overweight or whether you are carrying excess fat. In any case, many years ago, I read Andre Agassi's book, Open. And in the book, he talked about how he was influenced into a certain way of thinking as a champion and as a tennis player. But one of the quotes that stuck in my head when I read the book was the concept that image is everything. And I understand the message he was trying to relay. The point was that how you present yourself to the world most of the time determines how the world interprets who you are. The world makes using heuristics, makes a conclusion. Sometimes those conclusions are wrong, and sometimes those conclusions are generally true. So the way you present yourself to the world determines how the world receives you. For example, if I dress in casual wear and I go down to the local shops, I can tell you for a fact that the person standing at the door, the security guard, looks at me very, very different to if I wore a really, really nice suit or a jacket and some trousers. How you present yourself to the world in many ways creates a reciprocal reaction. The whole concept being action and reaction are equal and opposite. Now, are there exceptions to the rule? Yes, but the exceptions do not disprove the rule. Now, I talk about image because size matters. Now, I've heard women all my life say size matters, both on TV, in jokes, on the streets, listen to women groups talk, they say size matters. We agree, I agree, men agree generally, and that's why we say that your size matters. Now, without going further into why you're the size you are, I thought perhaps a useful way to make today's session rather positive or to be meaningful would be to give you some ideas of how you can know if you are heavier, probably a better word to use, heavier than you should be. Before I do that, let me explain two concepts. I like to use this concept every time I share a video or I post a publication. And the reason I do so is because I think it's important to delineate and separate two different groups. In the sexual marketplace, when you're talking about relationships, there are two separate groups, what I call two separate marketplaces. The first is called the dating marketplace. In this marketplace, men generally simply want sex. We want variety, we want quantity, we want volume, frequency, intensity, and duration. But at the bottom of what we need is simply sex. The second marketplace is called the marriage marketplace. This is where we're looking for someone to be a life partner. The way we behave in the first sometimes is very different to how we behave in the second. And the reason I explain this is because most women who are above their ideal weight will say, I still have men approach me. I still have men ask me on dates. I still have men try to get physical with me. And I still have men who are sexually active with me. And they tell me that I look beautiful. I have no reason to question any of those experiences. But it's important to separate what you hear and distill what you hear from the truth. It's not what we say to you or in front of you. It's what we say behind your back that counts. And I can tell you this, that behind your back, men reveal what we really think. When a man wants sex, we will sleep with anything that walks. Think about it this way. If you've ever been to, say, the Edition Hotel on Burnett Street in Mayfair, or perhaps you've been to the Beaumont Hotel along Balderton Road in Mayfair. These are great exotic hotels, exquisite hotels. If you've been to the restaurants or you've been to the bathrooms in the hotels, what you see is an interior that is exceptionally well designed. It's catered for, and you have people who are there to provide you the best service. You're talking about 7-star service. In each of those hotels, they have urinals. A man wants to go to the urinal, he wants to have a great experience. So, if I had to choose, I would rather go to the Edition Hotel and use their bathroom to urinate. And I would prefer that experience to using a bathroom at the local train station, which is barely kept to the same standard as in a hotel. The point I'm trying to make is that for men, when we need to urinate, we need to urinate. We do not discriminate on quality, especially if we are desperate to urinate. We take what's available. We go behind the bush, we go behind the street, we go behind the house. Sometimes we do it in the full view, knowing that other people might see. The reason being, we've held it too long, we cannot hold it any longer. But if we had to choose, we will go to the best restaurants with toilets and urinals, or we'll go to the best hotels with toilets and urinals, or we'll wait until we get home. Now think about yourself, whether you are a man or you are a woman. When you leave the house in the morning, seldom do you go through the day not using the bathroom until you return home. Now for most people, home is the place they want to urinate because they feel comfortable, they feel safe. But when you have to go, you have to go. The concept of urination is synonymous with sex for men and ejaculation. Men, we will settle for whatever is available sexually until we get what we want. So I use this analogy to simply clarify. In the dating marketplace, most men will have anything that is on the table on offer. The most important word that I should use is most men would have what they can afford. But if a man could afford better, he would do better. If he cannot afford better, he will settle for what's available. Which was why I said in the first session that a woman is always with the caliber, the type, the stature of man that she's able to attract with her beauty and keep with her attitude. But the man is with the woman that he's able to afford with his wealth, money, power, influence, fame, status, notoriety, and with the woman he's able to keep long-term with his character. So, in the dating marketplace, men will have and take anything that is available. In the marriage marketplace, we become slightly more discriminating. We exhibit stronger discriminating tastes. We look at the woman and we ask a simple question. If I'm going to be with this person for the rest of my life, do I find her attractive? Am I aroused by her? Am I stimulated by her presence? Is she beautiful? Is she youthful, feminine, and attractive? Whenever the answer is yes, most men will be happy to proceed with having you as a life partner. Unfortunately, most men in the second group do not get that option to choose, because we become hostages in our relationships. We start with a woman who is in good form, perhaps in this case weighs 55 kilograms, but as soon as she gets married, as soon as the man is committed, signed the marriage certificate, she lets go of herself and she becomes 80 kilograms. And the cost of exiting the relationship becomes too heavy, meaning that we can't afford to go elsewhere, because the cost of exiting and going back into the marketplace and finding something to our standard is too high. So we usually settle. We stay there like prisoners, but we know we are in a prison, but there is nothing we can do. Now, I said all of that for a reason. I like to express that whilst I go into how you can know if you are heavier than you should be, it's important to keep in mind that just because we have sexual intercourse with you doesn't mean you are our ideal. And one simple way is always to ask the man what he really thinks about you. Now, most men will never say in your face or to your face. We say it behind closed doors. So one of the ways to know if you're heavier is by as follows. Number one, does he shop on your behalf, buy you clothes, dresses, as surprises, not with you in person? He goes out, he walks past a lovely shop, he sees a beautiful dress, he buys the dress for you and brings it home for you, without questioning whether he would get it right. Now, women who are smaller in frame and weight often get men buying them clothes. I'm not talking about shoes, I'm talking about clothes, I'm talking about dresses. We buy them clothes because we know their sizes. And secondly, there's a sense of pride when you walk into a shop and you buy, let me use a good example, a UK size 4, UK size 6. Now, a size 4 and a size 6 in today's sizing is not what it used to be. A UK size 4 and a UK size 6 historically would have been a UK size 8 and a UK size 10. If you are a size 14 presently, or a size 12, understand that your real size for a 12 and a 14 is really a size 14, 16 and 18, because the sizes have been debased. Now, I know women who say, I'm wearing a size 12. And I smile and say, in my head, I think, there is no way you are a size 16. You are at least a size 18 or above. At best, 16. The reason being that it's been debased. Men don't feel a sense of pride when we shop for women who are twice our size. Women who are size 16s and size 18 on the normal sizing charts, not based on what we have today. Again, I'll say this for the record. A UK size 10 today is really a size 14 or a size 16, because in the last 15 years, or the last 20 years, 15 really, there's been a debasing of female sizes because women have got much, much larger in the last 15 years. So one way to know if you are larger or heavier is the frequency in the gifts you receive from him. Clothes, where he goes to a shop, he walks past the shop and sees a beautiful dress, walks into the store and buys one for you. Now, the point of this is as follows. The dresses you see in the shop front are usually the smallest sizes. They are usually sometimes pinned at the rear so that it fits the model perfectly. It makes the clothes look very, very appealing. Usually those who are well proportionately sized, adjusted for their height, do not have any issues wearing such clothes, especially irrespective of size. So the taller you are, the more you can wear a similar outfit. The larger you are, the higher the probability that the dress he picks out will be very different to what he sees. So we do not shop for you because it's in many ways it's a psychological revelation. When we give it to you and you try the clothes, your presence and you in that clothes confirm what we've been trying to suppress, which is the fact that you're too large. So most men will avoid shopping for you. They might go with you to the shop and have you pick out your clothes. But we derive no joy in buying clothes for someone who is as big as an elephant. Forgive me for using the example. Number 2, nudity. How often does he take photographs of you in the nude? Now, I'm talking about a relationship in this case. In the dating marketplace and in the relationship marketplace, men are stimulated and are inspired by beauty. As a matter of fact, a woman's beauty does 2 things: provides inspiration and provides an opportunity for him to release that inspiration. So you bring creativity and you take away sexual energy through intercourse. Therefore, when you are in really, really good shape, when you look your best, we take pictures of you, pictures of your bum. Now, I'm not referring to pictures that you send to the man. I'm referring to pictures that he takes on his phone of you to remind him, maybe when he's at work, he wants to flick through and see how you look. Pictures of your bum, pictures of you in lingerie, pictures sometimes of you wearing something sexy. The frequency of such actions is always an indication that you are relatively in good shape. Now, certainly there are exceptions to this rule, but generally the rule applies. In addition to that, if you are in the dating marketplace, the frequency of the various partners that you have, assuming you have a few plates spinning, the frequency of each person wanting a picture of you is indicative of how much he holds you in esteem in terms of your bodily form. There's a saying that, for those who believe, again, this is not for everyone, for those who believe that the first time Adam saw Eve, Eve was paraded in front of Adam, and he said, "Whoa, man." In other words, he recognized it was another version of him being a man, but he was excited. He said, "Whoa, man." And that's where the word woman comes from. In other words, when we see you nude, do we say, "Whoa, man"? Number 3, how regularly does he ask you to model lingerie in his presence? How often does he ask you to put on some nice lingerie, put on some heels and walk around the house and just excite him? The frequency of that indicates, other than having sex and ejaculating, how much of an inspiration your physique is to him, how much he's stimulated by seeing you in your best form, in your natural form, and more importantly, whether he thinks about you as a sexual beast. At the core, we're animals, and it's not unusual. As a matter of fact, I said this to someone before, that we as human beings today, we do not allow ourselves to be exposed in the nude as often as we should. We're usually clothed. You see young babies, the baby is born and they cover the baby up with clothes and they wrap the baby up with something nice and warm. And until the baby dies, we're always covered. Now, rightly so, because publicly we have to maintain a sense of decency. But in a loving, romantic, erotic relationship, I'm often surprised at how much women cover themselves up The more you cover yourself up, the more that indicates that there is something about your body that you're not necessarily proud of. The more you expose yourself, the more it means that you're certainly not only proud of your body, but you recognize that what you believe to be the image of yourself is consistent with what the other person sees. Now, there are some people who are deluded and who like to be nudists, but it tends to be that a lot of the people who are nudists, who like to show themselves in the wild to the whole world, unfortunately, are the least attractive. But I'm saying behind closed doors, it should come natural. If you have a great bum, if you're in good form, if your height to waist ratio is what it should be, you shouldn't feel any shame making dinner in your lingerie, walking around in your lingerie. So how comfortable you are in lingerie is a sign, and how regularly he asks you to model your lingerie or just come to bed wearing pants, walk around the house wearing a t-shirt and lingerie, gives you a signal to what he really thinks. Now, I would also go as far as saying, as number 4, in the dating marketplace, when we meet you for the first time, men are usually, there's something instinctively in us that we want to brag to our friends about you. Now, we don't want to show them naked pictures of you, but we want to show them certain parts of your body, what you look like wearing clothes, and maybe if we can get a shot of some part of your body from the rear, from the side, from the front, providing you're not naked, we would want to show that to our mates. Again, I'm talking about in the dating marketplace, at the early stage, where you're not a boyfriend and a girlfriend, you're simply sexual partners, maybe one-night stands. We want to show what we've conquered, but more importantly, the reason we want to show that is not because of our achievement, it's because of how great we think you look. And the sense of achievement is linked to your beauty, your attractiveness, and how your body looks. A man who beds a woman who is 18, a dress size 18 or 18 stone, has no pride. If he showed that picture of a woman who was obese, overweight to his mates, they will laugh at him. As a matter of fact, I have seen more men hide women that they are in relationships with simply because the woman is overweight, unattractive, lacks discipline in terms of physical beauty, and for that reason they keep it under hush. They say nothing. So the more we want to show your pictures of you out in bars, socializing with us, back at, on holidays, bikini shots, the more we want to put that to the public on social media, amongst our friends, the more it indicates that we think you have a great body. It's no different from a woman who has dating a man who has an amazing body. She wants to brag. She wants to show the world what he looks like. She wants him to take off his shirts so she can take photographs. Now, I know this, and I know most men recognize this. So it shouldn't come as a surprise that we do the same with the women in our lives. Now, number 5 has to do with how regularly you get complimented. The more compliments you receive, and those compliments have to be public proclamations, something you're declaring in the presence of other people. How regularly does he compliment you in the presence of other people? Publicly, especially people who are not your friends. The less frequency that happens, or the less that happens, the more and the higher the likelihood that you are heavier than you should be. Compliments come natural to men. Now, even if you're dating a person who is not naturally complimentary, we give compliments in words, or we give compliments by our gestures and our actions. If you're out in public, how regularly does he want to be seen out with you wearing a nice dress? Publicly. How often does he want to be seen with you going on a run, doing exercise together in the gym, dressed up going out to a bar? And I'm not referring to the time you spend traveling in transit. I'm talking about in the public eye. If you get dressed and walk into your car, no one is seeing you, you park next to the restaurant, you come out, you sneak into the restaurant, it means he's concealing what you look like. Most men who have, this is perhaps a good analogy, a beautiful painting of the Mona Lisa is presented at the Tate Modern Gallery for everyone to see. Beautiful paintings are usually provided to the public so the public can enjoy the beauty. So if you were a painting, would he be proud to put you in the public display for everyone to see? And how regularly does he do that? Now, I hope these have been useful. Now, in the next session, what I'd like to do is go a little bit further and explain some of the ways through which you can know what we like in terms of size. I think it'll be very, very powerful, and I look forward to those.